We're firing crossbows and saving denizens from oppression. That's right, it's Root the Role-Playing Game from Magpie Games. In this brand new RPG setting, based on the hit asymmetrical board game Root by Leader Games, players will take on the roles of vagabonds, the miscreants, outcasts, and vigilantes of the forest realms. Built upon the tried-and-true RPG system known as Powered by the Apocalypse, players explore the many clearings and paths of the Root world, guided by their game master, aiding in fighting the powerful factions of the woodland. Setup begins with character creation. As vagabonds, players take on the role of woodland specialists, who are a far cry from your average denizen of the forest. They can travel through the bandit-infested woods, trick and deceive their way through a contingent of guards, and even craft helpful devices and equipment for certain factions, or for themselves. Vagabonds are divided into playbooks. A playbook is a character archetype the player inhabits, and it defines their skills and starting abilities, but not necessarily their personality or background. That's up to the player. The core book provides 9 playbooks, located in Chapter 6, which come with a double-sided character sheet, also known as the playbook, and a suggestion for background ideas and role-playing hints. No two players should play the same playbook in a single game of the Root RPG to best facilitate a diverse range of skills and rules. After creating a character name, the player chooses a species. Rather than provide specific powers or abilities, the Root RPG assumes that birds can fly, moles can dig, and otters can construct elaborate wooden river-based structures. These characteristics fit into the natural world of the game, no special skills needed. Next, the details section offers a few lines of brief character-specific options unique to each playbook. The demeanor option is similar to details, but offers instead a short cue about the character's personality and attitude. All these starting options are meant to inspire character choices and don't affect game rules or restrictions. Next, players should consider a series of multiple-choice background questions, like a BuzzFeed quiz, the answers to which are unique to each playbook. The questions, however, are the same for all characters. Where do you call home? Why are you a vagabond? Whom have you left behind? Which faction have you served the most? And with which faction have you earned a special enmity? These background questions not only provide a foundation for your character and a justification for their future choices, but it also provides the game master with some potential plot hooks for the adventure. Next up, stats! These attributes come in 5 categories, each with a numerical value which modifies dice rolls throughout the game. The 5 core stats in this game are Charm, a character's facility with conversation, dialogue, and social interactions. Cunning, a character's craftiness, perceptiveness, and cleverness. Finesse, a character's manual dexterity and skill with their hands. Luck, sheer willpower, survivability, and good fortune. And Might, which is a character's raw physical strength. Each playbook has a starting value assigned to each stat, and players are allowed to increase one stat by +1 up to a max of +2 for now. So if you already start with the +2, you can't put it there. Players will have chances to increase these stats further as they adventure in the woodland. For reference, a baseline of 0 for a stat is the average stat for a vagabond, which is still better than most other woodland denizens. Next, the players select their nature, which provides a baseline description for how the character feels, acts, and relieves stress. Players choose one of the options listed, which sets a narrative condition for resetting a character's exhaustion track. More about that track in a second. Additionally, the player should select 2 drives, which represent the goals and desires of the character. These will provide a narrative condition for advancement, the method of increasing a character's stats. Each character also has a faction reputation, which is how the player keeps track of how all of the factions view them. Background questions and connections to other characters may influence these views, and they're tracked throughout the game on a scale from the positive prestige, which provides a bonus to interactions with that faction, to the negative notoriety, which provides the opposite. Players first start at 0, but when gaining either prestige or notoriety, a player marks boxes in the appropriate direction. Once a threshold is reached, those boxes between 0 and the number are cleared, and the new number threshold is circled. In order to hit the next threshold, the character must check all the boxes between 0 and the new threshold. Characters also have moves, which are the special abilities, advantages, and traits a vagabond uses to set themselves apart. Players select 3 starting moves for now. We'll discuss what a move is and how they resolve in just a second. The 3 harm tracks of the game reflect the costs of adventuring in the dangerous woodland. Injury tracks physical harm, either from enemies or from the player's own clumsy actions. In any case, if all of these are filled, a character is at death's door and needs immediate medical attention. Any further injury at this point would mean that the character would perish. Exhaustion tracks a character's energy and stamina. Certain game effects and moves require a character to pay exhaustion. When all these boxes are filled, a character is out of juice and cannot willingly use any more exhaustion. However, if a game effect would require them to pay exhaustion, the character passes out or is otherwise removed from action. Depletion tracks the small equipment and supplies. This is an abstract narrative idea in terms of characters pulling useful items right from their pouch at just the right moment. Once all the boxes in the depletion track are filled, their pockets got no more goodies. Players also select roguish feats and weapon skills. These special abilities come from the vagabond's criminal background and reflect the knowledge and cunning they've gained along the way. More on both of these when we discuss gameplay. Equipment in the game is separated into 2 types. There's the small knickknacks and pocket items, which are tracked on a depletion track, and the big, non-replaceable items like major weapons, special boots, or quest items. Many such items have a wear track, which reflects their durability, and a set of tags, which represent the range of traits that make the item more effective or allow the use of special weapon moves, provided they have the weapon skill. A character can carry a number of these large items equal to their load score. Load is calculated as 4, plus the character's might stat. So a vagabond with +1 might could carry 5 items max. Some large items take up to 2 load points, so see the rulebook or ask your game master for those specifics. Characters purchase starting equipment and future equipment with the value resource. Since the many factions of the woodland have various currencies, the worth of an item isn't denoted by money but rather value, which is calculated with the formula: boxes of wear plus extra ranges, plus special tags, plus weapon move tags, minus flaw tags. Each playbook provides a starting value for that vagabond, which can then be spent to purchase equipment, and they can keep any left over. The last 2 steps involve a bit of interaction with the other characters in the game. First, the Vagabond Band, the group of characters, choose a daring exploit, which describes the first heist or quest undertaken by the team before this adventure began. Since these vagabonds are experienced rogues, their exploits likely changed the woodland in some serious way. Roll 1d6 to determine those specifics, as listed on page 61 of the core book. Finally, players each choose 2 connections, each providing a relationship with one other vagabond in their band. Connections have a category and a mechanical effect, such as friend, which allows the player to apply an additional exhaustion when helping that specific vagabond in exchange for an added bonus to their roll. Other options like protector, professional, and watcher are all found on page 51. And that's character creation! Let's look at the core mechanics of the game. Gameplay is divided into scenes. The game master, a non-player who instead inhabits the role of narrator and exposition giver of the game, also takes on the role of non-player characters within the story. They also provide direction for setting the scene, in which characters, both players and non-players, interact with each other. This may be a casual conversation over a cup of root tea, or a fierce ambush from the treetops of a rabbit clearing. The Root RPG provides the basics of scene setting, which instructs the game masters to start the process, but players are encouraged to suggest new scene ideas or request the story progress to a follow-up scene based on their suggestion. In the end, like all RPGs, the Game Master has the final say on scene framing and rules. Like many storytelling games, there will frequently come a time when the outcome of a player's action may be uncertain. Whether they're leaping from a pile of leaves to swing their sword on a captain of the Marquisate, or forging the precise handle measurements for a brand new hammer. In these cases, the Root RPG considers the player's action a move, which has a simple structure of trigger and result. Chapter 3, The Fundamentals, provides examples of this, so check it out. In the cases where the rules or the Game Master call for uncertainty to be resolved with a roll of the dice, players use two six-sided dice, known as d6s. In this case, you'd say it 2d6. Only players roll dice for the outcome of uncertain moves. Game Master's rolls are only used for setup or designing scenes. When rolling, the player's results on the dice are added together and usually modified by one of their stats, such as charm or finesse. When a player makes a move with a desired outcome and needs to roll the dice, a roll of 7 or higher is considered a hit. The main objective of the player's action is achieved. 6 or less is considered a miss, and the Game Master determines the outcome, which might involve a complication or a dramatic twist, depending on the situation. In the case of a hit, a total score between 7 and 9 is known as a weak hit, which provides the main outcome the player desired, but may come with a complication or cost. A 10 or higher is known as a strong hit and means not only do they accomplish their immediate goal, but there may be an added benefit as well. The Root RPG differentiates from the concrete terms of success and failure, instead relying on the nuanced scale of the die result to provide a more specific result. When a miss occurs, this doesn't mean the player failed so much as the Game Master now gets a chance to create their own moves, providing interesting complications for the players. Within this system, the Root RPG provides a number of moves, including basic moves, available to all vagabonds, such as attempt a roguish feat, figure someone out, persuade or trick an NPC, read a tense situation, trust fate, wreck something, and help or interfere. Weapon moves, which occur during physical combat, come in 3 basic styles. You can engage in melee, target someone, or grapple with someone. These are available to all, but the special weapon moves may require certain tags, skills, or conditions. These moves involve basic combat mechanics such as range and reach, and inflict injuries on their targets. See Chapter 5 for all the weapon move options. Reputation moves revolve around faction interaction and are affected by the faction reputation of the character attempting the move. Travel moves involve moving from one clearing to another. Clearings are the main settings of the game, where the denizens live, sometimes freely, other times under the rule of a certain faction. And session moves, which occur at the end of a session of play. These allow players to check if their drive was fulfilled and thus whether they're able to gain advancement and make slight alterations to their character, such as replacing a nature or connection with another in their playbook. Some moves provide additional results, including Hold, which is a resource point the player can hang on to for a future action or move within that scene. +1 Forward, which adds a +1 bonus to the very next roll. And +1 Ongoing, which applies to all the rolls which fit the conditions as described in the rules or determined by your GM, usually until the scene ends or the action is shifted. And that's the basics of Root the Role-Playing Game. The core book, along with several supplements, provide a rich background of the woodland for game masters and players alike. Along with detailed options for moves, equipment, non-player characters, and clearings, the books also contain helpful instructions for creating the most cooperative and creative story for your game. I'm Becca Scott. This is Good Time Society, and you are my favorite vagabond. If you're a scoundrel like me, how about you give this video a like, leave a friendly comment, hit that subscribe button, and check out our playthrough of this RPG led by Game Master Gina DeVivo. We'll see you there.